Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star original continent based on novel. So let's start. His mighty body affected the flow of time around him. And the energy wave he created trembled space when he exercised his top move. His silvery white eyes had no pupils. He was staring at Luo Feng. The space continued to crack because of the eye's godly power. An eye appeared on Silver Eye's transparent body inch by inch, and his entire body not inside the armor was covered with eyes. The most powerful of all the eyes was the one on his face, with a silvery halo around it. The invisible, godly power rammed into Luo Feng's body. The second the eye was opened. No wonder I felt I was being stared at by Silver Eye. What kind of special creature is he? This thought struck Luo Feng the second he saw the silvery eye, and the power hit his body after piercing through Showu Wing and his general armor. Silver Eye's gaze was still terrifically powerful. The beast god roared, but it couldn't stand against this attack in the slightest. It pierced through Luo Feng's soul. Luo Feng suddenly fell into a state of illusion. Does he want to deceive me with this illusion? How ridiculous. Break. Luo Feng had an incredibly strong will, which helped him break out of the illusion without even trying. The scene around him vanished, and he entered nature. An illusion again. Break. Still an illusion. Break. Luo Feng was strong-minded and broke through one illusion after another. However, the illusion formed as fast as he could escape it, and it just kept forming. Luo Feng felt like he had fallen into an infinite loop of illusions, as if he had spent millions of years inside. This is not just any illusion. I've never heard of any illusion like this, and that move was so unusual. I reckon it's his top secret technique. Luo Feng had fallen into the illusion for a significant amount of time, but he still remained tranquil. His will was sharpened, and it was firm. His top secret technique is supposed to be intricate. It's impossible for creatures to train themselves to be able to exercise moves like split and strengthen of the golden horned beast. His top secret technique is something I've never seen before. Although Luo Feng was trapped in the infinite illusions, he was not in a rush, as he knew only a second had passed outside the illusion by connecting to the golden horned beast body. Of course, he wouldn't have been able to do that without his firm will, he would have been confused otherwise. After exercising the move, all the eyes on Silver Eye's diamond skin disappeared, and the crack on his forehead closed. This was the secret technique, and there were only two ways to break out of it. The first required mighty, godly power or soul-protecting treasure. In Luo Feng's case, he could certainly use Tower Pearl to break it. The second required one to break all the illusions one by one without falling. That made for an extremely long time within the illusion, whereas in reality, it was only a blink of an eye. Infinite loop, said Silver Eye, if he indulges himself, his will is going to crumble, and his soul will collapse. One has to go through desolateness to break each of these illusions, and can't give himself a break. Hundreds of thousands of years is enough to bend even the strongest will. Silver Eye was pretty proud of his move. This was, indeed, an extraordinary move. It was much more terrifying than being detained in Ice Hell, because in Ice Hell, one could still hide in his comfort zone, whereas one couldn't rest at all in the illusion. Actually, this move resembled the move Inheritance of Life and Death that Luo Feng had endured before, which was more difficult, as he couldn't even think during such an impasse. Just when Silver Eye closed his eyes, Luo Feng opened his. You. The eyes were dimming on Silver Eye's skin. How is this possible? The servant screamed, this is impossible. Nobody other than the other 4 invincible emperors survived this. And the other 2 burned their godly bodies to withstand it. How did you hold out against it as a human? How long did you spend in the infinite loop? Silver Eye asked. The infinite loop of illusions. Luo Feng answered. 10,000 eras. 10,000 eras. You survived 10,000 eras of loneliness and struggles. Silver Eye was a bit amazed. I must say that I'm impressed. Not that much of a struggle, though, said Luo Feng, smiling. When Luo Feng had been under inheritance of life and death, he had suffered much more terribly for 6,000 years, and he had walked between life and death countless times. In fact, Luo Feng chose to survive this without Tao Pearl for a reason, which was to sharpen his will. After an infinite amount of time in the illusion, he didn't feel lost at all. In contrast, he was sober. Those old creatures were as ancient as the universe, and living that long granted each of them an unbending will. Luo Feng wouldn't give up an opportunity like this. I'm indeed impressed, Silver. I nodded. Now that you've survived 3 of my moves, I promise that I won't kill you. I took 3 of your moves. Luo Feng grinned. Now, it's your time to take my move. One of the world rings carried by Luo Feng suddenly cracked, and an aggressive vibe emanated from it. An ancient, purple clock floated beside Luo Feng, and Jihong Emperor inside was already burning his godly body. The forceful energy was injected into the purple clock. The visible wave charged Silver Eye at the speed of light. At the same time, Luo Feng threw out 8 stars covered with Famo venom. The demon sound was so fast that Silver Eye couldn't manage to dodge it. His body cracked, then instantly started to heal. However, 8 traces of light pierced through the body and started to corrode it, after which it flew back to Luo Feng. Let's go. Luo Feng grabbed Jihong Emperor II after he threw out the 8 black balls, shook his wings, and escaped as fast as possible. The 8 black balls flew towards Luo Feng quickly, and went back to Luo Feng's palms in a moment. Master, he just played you, the black-armored servant said furiously. We can't let him go. Silver Eye's godly body healed completely while Luo Feng fled. He smiled. I said that I wouldn't hunt him again, if he could survive my move, said Silver Eye. Besides, how am I supposed to chase him? He has run far, and I can't stop him by pausing time. The servant was dazed. That's right. The human was the fastest in Ice Hell. Even the 5 invincible emperors couldn't match him. Then we're supposed to let it go. The servant found this hard to believe, as he had never seen his master taken advantage of. I attacked him 3 times, whereas he attacked me once, replied Silver Eye. I wasn't taken advantage of. However, that was a fierce move. Silver Eye could feel the injury in his body, but he didn't care about it. It was only a slight piece. Suddenly, Silver Eye heard a voice. You want the anonymous account to the virtual universe, Silver Eye? Luo Feng's voice echoed. I'll give you a chance to get it, and my condition is pretty simple. I'll trade 1 sensor for 1 treasure, and I'll send my servant to do the deal 3 days later. Whether we have a deal or not is up to you. Silver Eye was dazed, and he looked at the human who had teleported himself and escaped the space-clotted zone. Sneaky human, greedy human, Silver Eye couldn't help saying. Although he did have a strong desire for the sensor, he needed to contemplate whether it was worth a treasure or not. Treasures were scarce in Ice Hell, and he owned the treasures, because the undying captured before had not been ordinary. Let's go. Silver Eye reversed the space clot and left with his servant. Both Luo Feng and Silver Eye took off. The powerful creatures who had witnessed the battle were awed, as the human had survived the move Silver Look. That was something that couldn't be accomplished even by the top 10 limit emperors, who would resort to burning bodies to flee if they ran into the 5 invincible emperors. This is just incredible. The human will soon be ranked 6th after this battle. The strongest one under the 5. All the creatures couldn't help sharing and discussing this with their friends, since it was a major incident in the tedious Ice Hell. Luo Feng and Jihong Emperor teleported them back to the cave deep in the snow. No wonder he's an invincible emperor, said Jihong Emperor. The purple clock could only crack his body instead of smashing him. And I strengthened its power by burning my body. Jihong Emperor couldn't help sighing. That was horrendous. His body constitution is more than 100 times stronger than yours, so even if you burn your body, you can only reach his level, said Luo Feng. He shook his head. I grabbed the chance to erode him using the stars covered with Famo venom, which was only a mosquito bite to him. I couldn't even feel that he was weakened. But that makes sense, given how powerful and enormous his body is. He's way taller than a human and wields vigorous godly power. I reckon he won't die even if he has 1 kilogram of Fey Mo venom. 1 kilogram of Fey Mo venom could possibly kill a human invincible emperor. However, Silver Eye was a special creature, which was not easily corroded. I don't know whether he will say yes to my offer or not, thought Luo Feng. It will be more than lucky for me if I can get a treasure with a cheap account. That deal might actually happen. The desire the powerful creatures had to connect to the outside world was understandable. I'll know in 3 days. Luo Feng stopped guessing and started to reflect on the battle. The treasure is indeed powerful. I created the most suitable secret technique to make the best use of it, and it gave me the power to defeat Lightning Racing Emperor, mused Luo Feng. It's such a pity. If he were not here, he would have had at least one treasure to defend himself. There weren't enough treasures in Ice Hell. The 12,000 creatures detained in Ice Hell did carry some treasures. However, after an extensive amount of time, almost all the treasures had been claimed by the top emperors. Even so, the treasures these top emperors owned were significantly fewer than those owned by the emperors outside. For instance, Seven-Blade Emperor had a set of 7-blade weapons, together with treasures of defense and escape. In addition to the golden ponds, he had a tremendous number of treasures. It was possible that Lightning Racing Emperor and Bone Emperor were as strong as Seven-Blade Emperor and Hei-Ti Emperor. However, if they were engaged in a real fight, talents like Seven-Blade Emperor and Live-Falling Emperor, who were specially trained by their clans, could have crushed the detainees in Ice Hell. Treasures aren't less important than powers, Luo Feng postulated. It's the same for the masters of the universe. Teachers were Shan, who has already provided me with enough treasures. And I need to strengthen my power. 3 days later, on the peak of the iceberg in northern Ice Hell, Ji Hong Emperor stood at the foot of the mountain, addressing the metal person with respect. Master, said Ji Hong Emperor. Stay here, ordered the metal person. Run if something goes wrong. Yes, Master, Ji Hong Emperor answered. After giving the order, the metal person started to hike leisurely. The metal person was Luo Feng, who was using the method of the demon race. The powerful creatures of the demon race would use their body to handle things like these while hiding their real bodies in the world ring, as those powerful creatures of the demon race had enormous bodies. It would have been inappropriate to use their real bodies when adventuring the universe in spaceships. Luo Feng gave a bit of his consciousness in that body so that nothing would happen his physical self, even if that body was destroyed. It's been a long time since I last hiked, thought Luo Feng. It's tiring to hike under the pressure of Ice Hell. Luo Feng hiked slowly. Suddenly, the shadow of the black-armored servant appeared. You come, the metal person said in Luo Feng's voice. Luo Feng had adjusted the pronunciation of the body. It's you. The servant was furious. I can't believe that you come here yourself. I thought you would send your servant here. Wouldn't it be better to come here myself? Luo Feng said. Let's go. Luo Feng vanished with his body. They were inside the spectacular palace when they appeared again. Luo Feng looked up and saw the god, Silver Eye, through the body's optical system. Luo Feng felt had equal the first time he'd seen him, but now the scene was blurry, as the body was being inhibited. Silver Eye, take back your force, Luo Feng shouted. My body can't take this. There will be no deal if the body is crushed. Human, called Silver Eye. Luo Feng withdrew his force. He could easily blow up an entire star with a breath. He was trying not to affect the fragile body. I reckon you're going to take the deal, Luo Feng said. You're not afraid that I'll snatch the sensor? Silver Eye said. Snatch it, said Luo Feng. Have you never known what technology is? Or have you just forgotten how the outer world works? This anonymous account is permanent, and it's strictly monitored. I only brought a few accounts here, but I can apply for many more. I can take away your access authority even if you're offered one now. What if you take away my access authority after I make the deal with you? Silver Eye asked. Relax. I won't do something so clearly disadvantageous, Luo Feng said. You have to have faith in my reputation, and know that I'm somebody in the human race. I won't damage my reputation merely for a sensor. Good to hear, Silver Eye replied. However, it's completely unfair to trade a treasure for a single sensor. I want 3 of them. I only have 2 in total and need to do business in the future, Luo Feng answered. I'll only give you 1, and that's the final offer. Why do you need 3? You're the only one who needs it, anyway. You can lend it to your friends if they need it. Luo Feng had been born solemn. He wasn't good at negotiations as the human, and he wouldn't bargain if he didn't value the treasure and the sensor equally. 2, Silver Eye said. 1, and that's the final offer, Luo Feng said. There's no use for you to have 2, either. Maybe you want to resell one of them. I'll tell you now that I can totally take away the access authority of one of the sensors, as you're the one I'm making the deal with and you're the only one who can get the access authority. Okay, 1 sensor it is, Silver Eye gave in. Indeed, he was weak at negotiating. Greedy, said Luo Feng. Cunning, Silver Eye couldn't help saying from his throne. Cunning, agreed Luo Feng. This goddamn human is cunning as one can be, the servants swore to one another in a low voice. That was a treasure, which was difficult to obtain. Although the top 10 limit emperors had some of them, they were shrewd enough to avoid the 5 invincible emperors at all costs. Hence, it would be tricky to catch them. This is the sensor. Luo Feng threw the arm-protecting quantum computer to Silver Eye, and it fell once it left Luo Feng's hand. Silver Eye caught the quantum computer in shock. Be careful, he complained. It's too repressive, here, Luo Feng said with a smirk. Besides, my body is too weak. Now that you have the sensor, where is the treasure? I shall try it first. Silver Eye started to test it and connected to the quantum computer, which led him into the virtual universe. Luo Feng said, I've created 80,000 virtual mock accounts for you in case you don't know how to use it. Besides, the scanning function has been turned off, and don't you try to turn it on. If you do, your real figure will be shown in the virtual universe. A human dummy will be shown otherwise. You can totally change the size of the body and turn into human shape before turning on the scanning function. Silver Eye smiled. Interesting. These virtual games you humans are playing are quite interesting. Silver Eye looked down at Luo Feng and grimaced. The fear wears off the second I step into the virtual universe. Luo Feng burst into laughter. This is the treasure. Silver Eye threw out a treasure. It was a 3-meter-long viridescent axe. You're just greedy, Luo Feng repeated the point. Glad to trade with you. He smiled. You should be happy, Silver Eye, as I'm going to seclude and cultivate myself. You should know that it's almost impossible to find me, and when I come out next time, which may happen hundreds of years from now, the other 4 invincible emperors will need to satisfy me if they want to deal with me. Go. And stop being smug here, Silver Eye said. Escort Luo Feng out. Yes, master. The black-armored servant teleported Luo Feng. Silver Eye looked afar and smiled. He had obtained 2 treasures in total in Ice Hell, but he had only used one without touching the other. Besides, the treasure he actually valued wasn't ideal, because he could wield much more vigorous power by his own move. The virtual universe and virtual games, said Silver Eye. There are so many lives here, and it is filled with hustle and bustle. Wow! More than 1 trillion creatures playing one game. Silver Eye spared a slice of his consciousness and played the game. He needed to relax after being desolate for so long. This anonymous account was, indeed, more valuable than a treasure to Silver Eye. Inside the cave in Eastern Ice Hell, Luo Feng held the viridescent axe. It was thin and looked like a jade. Ha! I didn't even know whether it would work when the idea hit me, he said. But now, I actually have 1 treasure, which is more than valuable. I only got an ice net when I slaughtered all the creatures in Star Tower, and all the other fortunes I got combined were as valuable as 1 treasure. Luo Feng could feel its power merely by looking at it. He laughed, put it away, and connected to the virtual universe. Inside the practice field exclusive to Luo Feng said between the stars, there's still room for me to improve. I only came up with the first move for both Moon Policy and 1000-star Sermon Map. As for Ranshan's 7 moves, I'm already proficient in the second chapter, and I can totally create the second move based on that chapter and conception of Beast God. On one hand, it would be much more difficult to create the second move, on the other, he was at a higher level. Let's begin. Luo Feng started to create the secret technique. However, just when he decided to fight an opponent, the Castellan of Chaos City appeared in golden robe. Teacher, Luo Feng greeted him with respect. Luo Feng was confused. Castellan teacher had asked him to come to see him after 10 battles, but here he was after only 2. And the Castellan was patient enough to wait for him to finish. You're going to create the second move, the Castellan asked, looking at Luo Feng. Yes, Luo Feng said with respect. I don't think the first move of Moon Policy, or 10,000-star Sermon Map is enough, which is why I need to create the second one. You're studying both of them, the Castellan continued. Yes. Luo Feng didn't hesitate a bit. The Castellan frowned and said in a throaty voice, did you engage in any fighting? 2, Luo Feng answered. I barely won the first one, but lost the second one. What's your takeaway from that? The Castellan asked. I realized that both strengths and treasures are important, Luo Feng said. For one thing, treasures can't be fully utilized if the owner is not powerful enough. Plus, one will be put at a disadvantage in a battle against enemies at the same level if he doesn't have treasures. For me, I have adequate treasures, whereas I need to increase my power. Both Luo Feng and the Castellan stood among the stars in the practice field and engaged in questions and answers. Didn't these battles make you realize that you're wasting your time trying to follow the spirit reader path? The Castellan scolded Luo Feng in a raucous voice. The voice directly hit Luo Feng's mind, yet Luo Feng remained extraordinarily firm. Waste of time. Luo Feng shook his head. No. I feel like I'm strengthened and that it's the right path for me. Luo Feng thought the Castellan was kidding because he owned the star map, which was designed for spirit reader to attack. He wouldn't be able to defeat limit emperors with his own power and moves, whereas he could outpower lightning racing emperor with the star map. The Castellan shook his head. Give up. Give up on the spirit reader path and focus on the warrior path. The Castellan sighed. Luo Feng was dazed and stared at the Castellan, who had been guiding him all along. Why? He asked. I have an unrelenting will, and I inherited from Demon Sound General, which gave me a high frequency of amplitude. I can make great accomplishments following the spirit reader path. But you can accomplish greater things if you follow the warrior path, the Castellan said. Could you please clarify? Luo Feng said and bowed. The Castellan looked at his student, knowing that it was impossible for him to give up, because of one sentence alone. I'll elaborate on it, the Castellan said with earnestness. First of all, you're a black warrior. Second, you're following the path of Beast God. Luo Feng listened carefully. The Black Warrior has become a legend in Blood River Land, the Castellan said. Being a Black Warrior means your genes tally with those of the Beast God, and you can significantly improve your genes using Blood of Beast God in the future. Genes are foundational. If you're fundamentally 1,000 times stronger, how is your enemy going to fight you? Besides, the fallen Beast God in Blood River Land concentrated on close combat. Remember, Spirit Reader can never reach the top by following the path of Beast God. The Castellan looked at Luo Feng. Luo Feng was bewildered. Can never reach the top. You have to follow the path of the warrior to match Beast God's level, the Castellan said. You're a black warrior, so you have an extremely rare constitution. The fact that you could improve so quickly on the path of Beast God shows your great talent. How can you squander it? You're likely to become a master of the universe if you follow the path of the warrior. It's indeed difficult, but success is guaranteed. If you just follow your own whims, it will be almost impossible for you to become a master of the universe. Luo Feng fell into silence. Some small clans don't even know about this secret, said the Castellan. Some have tried both paths like you, which is ridiculous, because they will never be able to reach the top. Just take Luo Duo as an example. He was stuck at the last challenge and never managed to cross it. The Castellan looked at Luo Feng. Think deeply. And give me the answer when you're done. The Castellan turned around. Luo Feng remained silent. I can only follow the path of the warrior if I want to match the beast god. Luo Feng mused. Being a black warrior means my genes tally with the beast god. That's right. I learned 9 Calamity Tome, after which my genes sharply improved, exceeding those of humans, and that's how I managed to merge the 10 black river crystals. One path is given by Castellan teacher. I need to follow the path of the warrior and the beast god, and I'm likely to become as powerful as the beast god, which means I will become a master of the universe. The spirit reader is offered by teachers Washan Ku. I'll concentrate on 9 Calamity Tome, and there's no need to create any form of secret techniques, because I'll take charge of the Star Tower when I become more powerful in the future. Both students of teachers Washan Ku are masters of the universe, which means it is more likely that I'll become a master of the universe following this path, not to mention one of the most forceful treasures, Star Tower. Which one should I choose? Different scenarios struck Luo Feng's mind. He laughed. Why should I even bother? I'll follow 2 paths since each of them offers a chance for me to become a master of the universe. Luo Feng perked up. I'm not like Bran, who divided his focus between 2 laws. Although it seems like I am following both the path of the warrior and the path of the spirit reader, I'm following the path of the beast god, essentially. And I can study how to combine them together if I follow both paths. Among the stars, the Castellan stood in the void for quite a while. Teacher, Luo Feng finally said with veneration. You've made your decision. The Castellan sounded tranquil. Yes, Luo Feng said, looking as if there were lights in his eyes. I've decided to follow both paths, and I'll give one of them up if I realize I have made the wrong decision in the future. The Castellan turned to Luo Feng. I will say no more on this, as you've made up your mind, said the Castellan. I'll see how far you can go by following both paths. Luo Feng looked at the teacher. Great. The Castellan nodded. It's okay to make mistakes. What really matters is whether you can persevere and put your heart into it. Luo Feng kneeled. Thank you, teacher. He kneeled because he was sincerely thankful. He realized that the Castellan would still support him even if he went against his suggestions, and that the Castellan arranged one opponent after another for him to practice his secret techniques, which was time-consuming. Even if the Castellan valued Luo Feng, because of his race, he owed so much to him. He needed to remember his kindness and repay it when he had the chance. Let's begin. Luo Feng disappeared, and the golden horned beast appeared. Luo Feng followed the usual schedule and started with Moon Policy, followed by 10,000 Star Sermon Map. In the rural area of the universe, Black Flower Secret Region, inside Ice Hell, the news was spreading that Luo Feng had managed to survive both Death God's Point and Silver Look and escape. However, there weren't advanced communications in Ice Hell, and the detector Luo Feng carried was interrupted. It was not realistic to establish an internal virtual world inside Ice Hell. Poor communication. Besides, there were feuds between the powerful creatures, and they were so hostile toward each other that they would fight each other anytime they met. Only some friends or equals would gather once in a while. As a result, only 1/3 of the creatures knew about what Luo Feng had done after more than half a year had passed. In the snows of southern Ice Hell stood a spectacular palace, with blocks of ice littered all around. Demon race characters were crafted on them, which were clearly the rankings of Ice Hell. Without a doubt, inside the palace lived a very special creature, Skywolf. One of the 5 invincible emperors. Additionally, he was the editor of the rankings and also happened to be best-tempered. It was said that Sky Wolves were ruthless and fierce creatures, whereas the Sky Wolf living here was arguably one of the most peaceful. However, he would also kill if he was irritated. After all, he was one of the top 5 creatures in all of Ice Hell, a title earned by majestic battles. In the tremendous icy throne sat a mountain-like demon around 15 kilometers long. It was covered with snowy hair tipped with gold, giving the appearance of a halo around him. There were 3 strange, scar-shaped engravings on his forehead. He was Skywolf. Master, it seems the ranking needs to be updated. There have been new battles. Yes. It was the human who fought with Lightning Racing Emperor and Silver Eye. 5 servants covered with scales stood in the palace, and they were at the level of officials. Skywolf had brought them here when it was detained. Human. Skywolf suddenly raised his head and glared down at them. Where is the human? Find the human right now. The servants were dazed. Master, the fight was more than half a year ago. More than half a year. Skywolf growled. When the human showed up in Ice Hell, Silver Eye had publicly looked for him. Skywolf, on the other hand, had sent his servants to search for him in secret, but had eventually given up the search. He hadn't expected the news to come more than half a year late. This can't go on, said Skywolf. Skywolf stood up with his 4 hoofs on the throne. His servants kneeled down under the fear of his might. This video will end here.